in southeast London, and with me, joining me now is Gregory. Gregory, how are you, and how is the weather where you are?
All is fine. The weather is mild.
Okay, you're sounding a little bit distant, as if there's almost like an echo there. So hope just bring your mic closer to you, please.
Done
Um,
that.
oh, brilliant! Now it's loud and clear. Thank you. So, dear listeners, yes, that's Gregory. I'm Saad. I'm in southeast London, and the weather here, it is bright, sunny, clear sky. It's a bit cool now, uh, but it's been quite, like I said, mild day today. So, welcome to this spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Uptrushin. And every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic for tonight is repeated Earth lives. Re- so just to say that again, the topic for tonight is repeated Earth lives. We're talking about human beings here. So if you have any questions or comments, uh, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 07939641958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1, that's the number one, .com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the light of truth, excuse me, the Grail Message in the light of truth by Uptrushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover, through the intuitive perception, if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Uptrushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic for discussion tonight is repeated earth lives. That's repeated earth lives. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. Now, listeners, I always like to look up the meaning of the words in the topic in the dictionary. So the topic tonight is repeated earth lives. So the first word there is repeated. And in the dictionary, I've got the meaning of the word repeated. It says done or occurring again several times in the same way. That's done or occurring again several times in the same way. So, Gregory, what do you say about this definition for the word repeated?
Well, that word done is what one doesn't understand. But occurring or recurrence mirrors precisely what it means.
Yes, I think that when they're talking about done, something being done again. So that's so maybe I should not have bothered to say, because occurring gives a better meaning there. Okay, let's continue. So the next word is earth, which I don't think we need to really look it up, but I decided to look it up anyway. It says the planet on which we live, the world. There's a second meaning as well, but I don't think that's what we are referring to. So, Gregory, I think this is all right, isn't it? The planet on which we live, the world. That is a good meaning for the earth, the word earth.
Well, there's no substitute for it.
Right. Actually, the other meaning for the meaning of earth, which, as I say, I don't think is really relevant, but I'll just say it, this because the dictionary covers everything. So the substance of land, surface, soil. So, Gregory, is that any relevance for us for tonight?
But we already discounted that because
Yes.
there is a moon has land. So let's not even go into that. Just let's
Sure.
focus.
Okay. Let's continue. And the third word in the topic tonight is lives, or life, let's say, because I couldn't get the plural meaning in the dictionary. So this will give me the meaning of the word life. It says the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. So let me just repeat that. This is the meaning of the word life. Is the condition. By the way, there are two meanings. So this one, it only seems to point to animal and plant, but actually there's a meaning, the second meaning, which is referring to human. But anyway, I will say this one. So the meaning of the word life, the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. Gregory, is that uh, good for our discussion?
Our focus, one thought, should be on human personalities. So what you yourself just read out covers beyond human personalities. So,
Right.
although it is helpful, but that's not what we are all about in this particular discussion.
So let's look at the second meaning, which is in the dictionary for the word life. It says the existence of an individual human being or animal. So they include animal there. The existence of an individual human being or animal. How's that?
That is it's a part pointers because we will look into the details later.
Right. Okay. So thank you for that. And then I wanted to say, listeners, as just to remind us again, the topic for tonight is called repeated Earth lives. And there's another word that is commonly used basically as an alternative to this phrase, and that's reincarnation. So basically it means exactly the same thing, repeated Earth life. So reincarnation, I looked that up in the dictionary as well. And that one is, it says, the rebirth of a soul in another body. Gregory, is this, how good is this one?
It's a pointer, but many will ask, what is a soul?
Yes, that was my trouble because I can keep looking up the next word and the next word in the dictionary, and we won't stop talking about the topic then. So let's not go too far then. So just again, listeners, the topic tonight is repeated Earth lives, and I want to just say again, I decided to look up the whole phrase in Google AI for this phrase, repeated Earth lives, and this is what it gave me. Repeated Earth lives refers to the concept of reincarnation, where the soul or consciousness of an individual is believed to be reborn into new bodies on Earth multiple times. So, Gregory, is that a good conception for for this phrase, repeated Earth lives?
A conception is only good if it exactly provides the picture in accordance with the laws through which
Definition or description in accordance with this, with the natural laws, or is there something we should say more on it?
the problem has been that there is a discussion on reincarnation. That is a second step. So one is starting from the wrong point. Before one should discuss anything about reincarnation, that individual must understand what incarnation is. Only when the individual has a clear idea or a precise evidence in accordance with the laws of creation, only then may it start considering reincarnation. So
Thank you for that.
You find that it has not taken the first step, yet it's going to the second step.
Thank you for pointing that out, Gregory. Yes, when you use the word reincarnation, of course, it means reincarnating. And of course, the immediate question would be, do you know what is incarnating or incarnation? So, okay, let us look at that. Let us start from that as a starting point. And then We can talk about repetition, repeated earth lives, and so on and so on. Okay, so Gregory, let's what do we mean, or what is meant by the word incarnate? Because it seems also it seems like a birth in the inside that phrase incarnate. I didn't look it up. I must admit I didn't look up the word incarnate, only reincarnate. So incarnate, what does that mean?
What basically is pointing to is a process in which that which is capable of consciousness takes over a physical body which is prepared for it, such that it can manifest here on earth.
Okay, let me get that clear in my own head, in my own mind. You're saying it is a process. Incarnation is a process where uh, I think you said consciousness
Yeah,
can
where
can
that which is capable of consciousness or of self-consciousness, all right,
yes.
takes over a body which is being prepared for it, right, by, say, a woman, or such that it's able now to experience here on earth. So it is that consciousness that takes over a physical body. That one is the incarnation, because it takes over so it can manifest.
Right.
If there were no consciousness, then you can't talk about consciousness as regards a stone, or consciousness as regards plants. Consciousness may be considered when animals or human personalities are concerned. And when one is considering human personalities, then in that case, these consciousness are capable of self-consciousness. So it is the self that incarnates, and in that process, it takes over a body, a tool, an instrument. Only through this instrument is it able to manifest itself.
Thanks for that, Gregory. What I'm going to ask then, so this word consciousness, could you substitute the word soul as alternatively for the word consciousness? Because consciousness somehow seems a little hard to comprehend. Let me say, it doesn't, until you had to say it is an animal or human. It's you don't identify it with anything. It's just like a concept, general concept. But when you say soul, then somehow there's a sensing that this could be animal or some being. Let's call it a being, that has a being. I've just used the word being in general. So it can be human being, of course. That's what we are supposed to be. Or it could be, let me say, animal being. Maybe that's another way to call it, animal being. So can we substitute this word soul for consciousness?
One has to be very careful in such substitutions, because you have the word conscious, which everybody tends to understand. When one is asleep, it is said he's unconscious. When he's awake, it is said he's conscious. So that is a general term which is applied to individuals, maybe animals, or to human beings. However, when the word self-conscious is applied, then it mirrors that which one refers to as human personalities. If, however, soul is used, it might also give an approximation, but many will start considering religion into it. Okay, being religious, the religion says soul, whereas consciousness is universal. When it is said something is conscious, many understand what it means, but not many understand what the soul is.
Thank you again, Gregory, for this clarification. Um, so yes, the, you're using specific words to make the definition of the concept very clear, and then if you use, let's say, an alternative word, substitute word, it may not be so clear, and then people might, like you give the idea, may have their own understanding of that word soul, for example, uh, which may not be the same concept that we are discussing about tonight. Uh, so a consciousness is more, as you say, more uh, clear for people in that way. So thank you for bringing that out. Okay. So so there, just to recap again, we have talked about incarnation, where consciousness, which is coming to this earth, if I can say this way, or into the, yeah, I'll just say it in this way, and then I'll sort of refine it a bit more, so to make it just a quick definition out of it. So Gregory, when we are talking about the word incarnation, we are saying a consciousness is coming into a body on the earth to be able to function on this earth, to manifest itself on this earth. And so my question is, Gregory, why would that happen? Why would that be necessary? Why can't the consciousness... Oh, the listener is just saying something. Before, I just want to check something, Gregory. Just give me a moment. Oh, okay. I thought there was something. Sorry, the listener is saying point, but before I go to the point, let me just go back to what I want to say. So what I'm saying is there is yeah. So we're talking about a consciousness which is being born in a body or incarnating into a body on this earth. And my question there is, Gregory, why would the consciousness not be able to manifest itself anyway on the earth? Why does it need a body? Why does it have to come like this to the earth?
It's a very profound question you asked, and very simply, one may give an analogy. Here we are in our discussions. To be able to hear what I'm talking about, or maybe see and all that, we have energy which is being propagated. Energy is spirit. Now, if you do not have an instrument that is capable of receiving that energy here on earth, even in our mere discussions using the technology, how would you then hear me, or how could we speak? An instrument is needed for my voice or for your voice to be able to manifest, either in pictures or in sound. That means we needed all that which is energy, which energy we now equate to spirit, needs an adapter to be able to manifest. Just like you yourself need, wherever you are, I mean, you are using radio waves, and you need an adapter, either in your phone or your laptop, to be able to manifest. Else, the waves may be there, but if there's no adapter adapted to the earth, adapted to the technology, there's no way that one is able to perceive our discussions, or one is able to participate in our discussion. So it is also with spirit. Energy is spirit. And in this particular case, there is the individual energy or bundle of energy, or you have the scenario where this energy needs to communicate, just as you require a receptor, mechanical receptor, electrical receptor, to be able to pick up the signals, which signals can now be transformed to sound waves just as one is speaking. So also, that which is of spirit needs the physical body first to be prepared such that it can take it over, tune the physical body, also tune itself to be able to manifest in using the five senses. So the physical body is more of an adapter here on earth.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this picture you're painting for us of how the consciousness, let's say, requires a tool, to be able to operate. And you give the analogy of communication, like we're doing now on the radio. Just for listeners' sake of understanding, Gregory is not with me. It might appear that he's actually with me. He's actually, let's say, somewhere else. I'm in Southeast London, and Gregory is somewhere else. Nowhere near me. Let's put it that way. And yet, through technology, we are able to communicate. Yes, as I'm presuming he's using a laptop. I'm also using a laptop. We've logged into a software to communicate, and then we are now linked to the radio station, which is broadcasting us together. So we're linked to that radio station, and that Bless Radio, obviously, and that is how we can talk together with you. And that's how this communication is working. And I'm glad to say that the listener is also listening to us. So, or at least one listener that I know is listening to us, and they have been putting some points forward. So I would like to share that with everybody, and with you, Gregory. So the first point they've said, the listener saying, I don't think that consciousness and the soul are the same. I think, Gregory, would you like to respond to that?
Precisely, the soul as such is referring to the inner, is referring to the spirit that has many clues and has many adapters. Or one may refer to the soul as that which is capable of self-conscious but lacks the physical body that we are using here. That is one may refer to as the soul. So that person's hunch is correct.
Thank you. And they're also saying, the same listener, the difference from me is that the soul is what is part of one's life journey, whereas the consciousness is the soul's awareness of life. There's a bit more they've put, so I just want to read this slowly because we need to also understand what they're saying. So let me just say, so this is talking about consciousness and the soul, and the listeners giving their own understanding. And they're saying, the difference for me is the soul is what is sorry, let me say that again. The soul is what is part of one's life's journey, whereas the consciousness is the soul's awareness of life. Okay. Gregory, does that make sense? Or
that is a good perspective.
Right. And there's a bit more, and I wanted to break it down, not jump into everything. The listener continues, not an intellectual awareness, but one's capacity to process, perceive, and understand. So they're saying we're talking about the soul's awareness of life. It is not an intellectual awareness, but one's capacity to process, perceive, and understand. How's that one now?
It is still in the right direction, but one has to be careful not to drag it too far.
Yes. I'm also getting inside myself saying, if you keep going to very deep understanding of any of this concept immediately, there's a danger of getting stuck or lost somewhere. And I know this show is meant to be introductory, and we can handle, these concepts, but we just need to go a little bit like step by step, so we don't get people lost. That would be a bit more, like I said, difficulty if we have that. So, all right. Yes. So the listeners saying this, what they've written there is their own understanding, which of course we fully appreciate that. Doesn't mean that they agree or disagree. That's what they understand. So that's fine. Okay. Let's continue. In fact, before I continue, I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth. The Grail Message by Abrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is repeated earth lives. Repeated earth lives. Which, and if you have any questions or comments on that, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat, where you can type in any questions or comments. Also, we are broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which is tonight, Repeated Earth Lives. And after the show ends, which is 8 p.m. tonight, you can listen to the recording of this show again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the same search words, which are Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space, Grail Message, space, Repeated Earth Lives, which is the topic for the show tonight. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows as well, again on YouTube.
Sound, you're
Thirdly,
oh, okay, you're not.
okay, yes, thank you. So I would not like to repeat everything. So, and the third place you can listen to us is Zeno. That is ZENO.FM/radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 there. So, listeners and Gregory, we've talked about incarnation. Just I'm going to summarize quickly. Incarnation of consciousness onto this earth into a body so that it can operate into this on the earth. We give the example of communicating like we do on the radio show. So the consciousness, in this consciousness we are referring to the human being. Just in case people are thinking we're talking in a very general way. Of course, we are not the only beings, let's call this beings, to have consciousness, but we are one of them. So we are and this program is always, we call it spiritual discussion program. The spiritual refers to human, really. In our general discussion, we're referring to the human being as a spiritual being. So that is what we are saying. In this case, the human beings, consciousness, operating on this earth. And so incarnating already implies we must have been somewhere else before we landed on this earth. But as I said, we don't want to go into too much complication, but that's just to say that obviously if we have now landed through incarnation onto the earth into a body which is suitable for our usage. Okay, now, and I just to complete this picture, I think we all know how we came in general to this earth is through our parents, in case just looking on an individual level, you know, and so everybody has come through their parents. I know there's other artificial technology that people also use, but in general, that is the way. And so there's a process which is called incarnation, where we have landed onto this earth. And so there's a physical process. I think we should just complete this story, picture. There's a physical process on the earthly level, obviously, where we are born onto the earth, but preceding that part is the incarnation. So that's what we've been talking about up to this point. Now, and then of course we all know, just to complete the rest of the picture, we all everybody who lives on the earth does actually die as well. So there's a death. And most of us are not thinking too much about what happens after death. Gregory, I just want to, so we've talked about incarnation, but the topic tonight is repeated earth life, which means we are coming back to this earth. So Gregory, let's look at that. Although I didn't think we were going to talk about it immediately, we will say, so what happens, Gregory, when we die? Do we, what happens? Are we just like finished, or we continue to exist, or can you explain that, please?
Well, that's another profound question. But again, these are second steps. And in one's investigation, it should be, where was that which is capable of incarnating, where was it before it incarnated? If the investigator in his or her reflections come to that which is conclusive, that indeed before an incarnation, that spirit or that bundle of energy which is capable of self-consciousness must have been somewhere. And therefore, after having spent some time here on earth, in accordance with the laws that made it possible first to come into existence before incarnation, and during its existence here on earth in its incarnation, then definitely when it departs, it will return to where it either started, or if it has gone through the necessary experiences in accordance with the laws through which it came into existence, then that will be some type of evolution for that particular spirit. And it will be in a place which is better or the same as where it started from before incarnation.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for that picture that you've given us there. Just to now, let us just move on to this repeated Earth life, because we are saying we human beings come back on this Earth, not only once, but more than once. And so you start thinking, oh, what's the point of that? So Gregory, and most of, let's say many people just think one Earth life, that's all there is. But we are saying there's repeated Earth life. So so the question arises from that: what is the purpose of coming back to this Earth? Well, why are we, why isn't the one Earth life enough?
That personality which is capable of self-consciousness has incarnated in order to experience. In its experiencing, the need is there to spiritually mature, to get to a state where gradually, step by step, it becomes self-conscious. Self-conscious in the sense, in the cultivation of those talents which has been sown into it. Were there no talents, in the human personality, then there will be no need for an incarnation. So that will be a waste of time. But because there are talents, and these talents need to be developed, and therefore it goes through a gradual process of evolution, of spiritual evolution, because it is evolving when it cultivates its talent. The need is there to, having spent some time on it, to reflect on what it has been able to achieve in that immediate incarnation, and having weighed and examined what it has achieved. The need is there. If the need is there, it needs to come back to cultivate or to refine that which has been achieved, that which has been accomplished. It may also be that whilst here on earth, it has spun some threads, which threads compel it to return so as to learn what must have happened, or to relearn it, to experience it, to mature and grow out of it. In that case, that thread which has been spun, sometimes people have different names for it. Sometimes they call it karma or whatever. But it doesn't mean it has to be a karma. It could be that the individual needs to come back to experience further in the cultivation of the talents which have been sown within it. That is why it comes back. It is not expected that with one incarnation, that individual has now achieved that which is like faithfulness, modesty, diligence, heroism, selflessness, skill, wisdom and humility, or compassion, or vigilance and alertness. All these are talents which the individual needs to cultivate. In all naturalness, the need is there for it to reincarnate here on earth in order to strive in the cultivation of these inherent talents.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this. Again, the picture you're painting of this maturing of the human being on Earth, developing its talent, like you say, and that talent, it could take more than one Earth life to do that. Not only that, you mentioned this, you could call it karma, or the law of sowing and reaping. You do something, there is a consequence. It can be good, it can be bad, and there's a build-up of the, let's say, whatever there's good or bad. Let me say it in a more simple way. We know in nature, you plant a seed, and then it turns into like a plant and bears the fruit. So human beings also are, through their thoughts, actions, are planting a seed. Not physical, of course, but it can be if it's a physical deed, but it can be with thoughts, it can be with words, which we don't see them physically, but there are some deeds you're doing there. And those things you're sowing, there must be a return, a harvest of it. and that's again following nature. Uh, Again, these things might be invisible to us, but yes, these things are happening. Um, and so there will be consequences when you make a decision or you do a particular action. There's a, would say, a payback that comes with it. Um, it can be good, it can be bad, and then, as we know, some things don't happen overnight. It takes time. So we see the results maybe in the next world, or when we have come back on this earth again, uh, the results come there. So the Gregory, can we? What came into my head there is are these let's say reincarnation or the fate of us, our future? Is it really in our own hands, or is it in the nature's hands? Because you know we don't decide. Oh, we're going to be born there, or isn't it? It's you know. Um, Even people say, "Oh, I was born because of my parents. Not I didn't want to come. It's not that I said I want to come here. It's the parents who brought me to this earth." So my question is, Gregory, are these things, reincarnation or repeated earth lives, are these really in our own hands, or is it in the nature's hands or some other hands?
The laws of nature, of creation, through which the individual personality or the individual came into existence, these laws are complete, are perfect. And in these laws, that which is homogeneous to the volition of that particular individual, that which in activity comes closest to the volition of the individual, that makes it possible for that individual to be attracted to that particular place. Hence, you have that the individual is attracted to a particular type of parent through which that which it needs to become more matured, that possibility is thereby provided. It should not forget that the individual started from somewhere, and that being the case, the individual has a volition to become not only conscious but self-conscious. That individual did not create itself, but is a child in creation. And the laws that permitted it to come into existence also helps in fashioning the paths that it needs to take in accordance with the volition of the individual. So it will be wrong now that the parents that have now made it possible for the individual to actualize their volition, their spiritual volition, these parents who have taken upon themselves, one way or the other, to be of assistance so that they themselves may also learn from that individual. It would be wrong now for the prospective individual to accuse the parents who have only made it possible for him or her to incarnate, to experience, to evolve to a better human personality. That would be utterly wrong.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for giving this answer and showing us that yes, there are the natural laws that brought us into being, and then we made some choices, decision. We like this or we like that, and then the parents also make their own, you could say, decision. And so everybody's, all of this, although it may not seem to you very obvious or clear in the beginning, that oh, my parents brought me onto this earth. Yes, that's true. However, it doesn't work in a vacuum. You are involved, you're in there as well, and there are the laws of nature also there. So they're working together. So it's not one person, they pulled me to here, and I had no decision, no choice in that. You also want to experience. And the way to experience is to come on this earth. Part of it is coming on the earth. And that means you have to be born to parents. So when you reflect, I mean, we could go into this discussion forever. The more I think about it, this scenario, you could look at that scenario number A, B, C, D. You will never stop looking at the different combinations. But the idea is to get the principle and the general concept of what is going on here. There is no injustice. Everything is perfect justice, actually. The laws are perfect, and we human beings are interacting with these laws, and we are even unaware how the system works, how these natural laws work. We don't even know that, how they work. Do we even know who we really are, like we've been talking about here? And then we talk about repeated earth life as part of our lives, experiencing and growing. All these things are working together in a system. So nothing happened by accident. So yes, parents made a decision to have a child, and then that child, let's say it's you. Where were you before you became the child? You were somewhere in the, let's say, before, not on this earth. So for you to, wherever you were, you also, let's say, want to experience, whatever it is you want to experience, you have to come to this earth. So this became a channel to be born on this earth. And so it's not a blame, I blame my parent. No, you made a decision. The way you have to experience is to come to this earth. And the parents would like whatever experience they would like as part of their experiencing. You were chosen, you were, I don't know if I can say chosen, in that sense that they picked one person selected out of every other person. No, through their decision, the natural laws brought you to them, and them to you. So it's all mutually, I was going to say beneficial, but in mutual love and justice involved, even if you don't see it in a very clear, it's not even told to you when you're born why how it happened that you came here. So all of these are like, in quotes, mysteries, but they actually can be explained. So thank you for that, Gregory. Yes, before I continue further, I just want to let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Uprushing. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is repeated Earth lives. That's for human beings we're talking about. Repeated Earth lives. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. And if you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. There's one, yeah, that's the other way. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. Bless Radio 1, that's the number one there, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is repeated Earth lives. And after the show, that's 8 p.m. tonight, you can listen, 8 p.m. UK time, you can listen to the recording of this show again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type the same words in the search box, which are Bless Radio 1, that's again number one there, space, Grail Message, space, topic of the show, which is repeated Earth lives. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows again on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.fm/radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number one there. Now, Gregory, we're talking about human beings, that is us, reincarnating or coming back to this earth again, as we said, repeated earth lives. Now, and the idea, Gregory, is, and we've talked about karma and talked about developing and maturing, and then sometimes people think, oh, if I've done something bad, maybe it could be bad, but I will come back in the next life, let's say as an animal. So let's say that is so Gregory, is that what can be possible? Does that happen?
One can already perceive that there is a different category when one is considering man or animal. These are two different categories. It must also be stressed that the laws that made it possible for the human personality to come into existence operate in such a way that there is what one may refer to as homogeneity. The animal is capable of consciousness. The human personality is capable of not only consciousness, but self-consciousness. So you find these are two different categories. And in accordance with the laws of creation, that which is capable of self-consciousness has been granted the gift to make decisions. Therefore, it takes on responsibilities. The human personality has to answer for the decisions it has taken. That is considered to be natural because you have to account for your activities, because you have been granted the free will. You do not ask an ant, which is an animal, to account for its activities. The question is why? Why can't you hold an ant responsible or hold a fly responsible? Because very simply, they do not have that free will to make decisions. Therefore, there is a separation. These are different categories. A human personality that has left or before it incarnated was or is a human personality of spirit. When it engages in activities here on earth, it is still a human personality. It is not an animal, even if in its activities it lays down or it ignores its responsibilities. It still has to account for it. And once there is that transition where the physical body that it has used is then dropped, a process or an event which many call death. It is the physical body which it has incarnated in that dies. That human personality remains human, not an animal. And therefore, when it needs to return in the case of repeated earth life, it returns as a human personality to experience further, so as to ennoble itself. It cannot come in now as an ant or as an animal or as a bird. For that which is animistic is different from that which is of spirit.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for giving such a clear picture about the differences between human and animal, you could say, capability or limitations. And or characteristics, if I can say. You use the word category. Animal and human are different categories. So, which sounds technical way to put it, but it's just to identify it very clearly. They're different, and so, um, you know, uh, and they have certain characteristics which are quite a lot different. And so, if you, in quotes, were to turn one from to the other, you couldn't act anymore as you were doing before. It would be a change, a drastic change from what you were before. So you wouldn't be what you are anymore. And that's not what this life is about. The purpose is to grow in the same species that you are as a human, not interchange to some other species. And I mean, this topic tonight, the more I reflect on it, you could ask 1,000 different questions. As I said, so many scenarios are potentially there. We could never stop talking about it. So today we're just going to be touching on certain aspects of these repeated Earth lives, which we like. For example, we talked about karma. Now we're talking about reincarnating into a different, from human to animal or vice versa. So that is another sort of variety, specific scenario. Now let's talk about certain things as human beings, which really we don't, how can I say, see evidence of too much. So, because people could still say reincarnation, well, that's just a belief, it's not reality, So let's question it a bit, Gregory. So, for example, Gregory, how come we don't remember our previous life? If we are supposed to be learning and growing, developing from, what we've done in the past, and develop our abilities and so on, and yet we come back again into the new Earth life, but no memory of anything of the previous life. How is that?
The answer to that lies intrinsically in the question. In that question, you refer to no memory. Memory is intrinsic to the body. Memory is intrinsic to the brain. When there is an incarnation, the human personality collates experiences on Earth and subsequently makes use of these experiences for subsistence, continuous subsistence. That information is kept in the brain. At the time of transition, it is hoped that these accumulation of experiences have had an impact on the back brain and subsequently on the human personality through its intuitive perception. For at the time of transition, the brain perishes. So those memories that it has accumulated on the memory, those experiences are no use anymore, because most or majority of it was useful whilst the individual was on earth. For instance, the food that we eat, do we expect that when the individual passes over, it will go up there and there will be a special type of pizza that needs to eat, or a special type of ice cream? After all, these are memories. By the time it reincarnates, maybe there's no more pizza, no more mango. So you find memory as such is a local property which is tied to the brain, most likely the frontal brain. Whereas that which the spirit takes away are the impact of this memory in its intuition. Through the intuition, it's able to make an impact on the spirit. It is those lively experiences that the spirit uses in its maturity, what it has cultivated, those virtues it has cultivated, or the lack of it. That is what it takes away. And memory, like you rightly said, that perishes with the physical body. Most of what is being discussed here, the framework has been taken from the work in the light of truth, the Grail Message. One said, in the light of truth. For on the one hand, there is the light, which is life. And on the other hand, there is truth, which truth never changes, has remained the same, therefore the law. The combination in the light of truth makes that which the individual needs to know, which the individual needs to know in order to mature in accordance with the laws that permitted it to come into existence and to continue to evolve such that subsequently, if it has followed the urging to become self-conscious, is able to accomplish that. That is the basis of all the discussions that is carried out here.
Thanks again, Gregory, for this answer. The listener has made their own understanding again, and maybe I'll share that now. Actually, they said all of our past lives and lessons we need for this life are held in the cellular memory of each one of us. And the person saying that is what their intuition telling them. So let me repeat this. This is all of our past lives and the lessons we need for this life are held in the cellular memory of each of us. Maybe I should say within. They said within of each of us. Is that so, Gregory?
One would like to understand what's cellular. Is it memory?
Cellular memory, yes.
Is that cellular memory in the physical body or not?
Okay. I hope the listener is listening and they will. It looks like they are responding. So let us wait for that. Oh, they mean yes. They're saying in our bodies.
If it is in the physical body that has perished, then
No, no.
how?
Let me come in, Gregory. No, it's not the one that is perished because you're living now, currently on Earth, and you've had your previous lives, obviously, sometime in the past. And this person is saying that the memory of the previous lives and the lessons you have gained in the previous life are held in the cellular memory, so which can only be in the current body, because otherwise, as you said, the other body is gone, so you can't be using that body. So they're saying in the current body, in the basically in the cells of our current body.
No, that is not right. For were that the case, even as a child, the individual will start making use of that. All right. And if in that case, if the child in the previous earth life spoke Chinese and it's cells in the body, then the basis for that, you could easily speak Chinese or whatever language. That which the individual is referring to is held within the experiences of the spirit. That is not tied to the physical body, which is transient. It is true that memories are within the soul. The soul retains a record, but that record may have an impact on the physical body in this current incarnation. That does not mean that those memories or those experiences have been held within the physical body. Here we are discussing, and you in one place, I in another place, the other guy or the other person in another place, through vibrations, we are able to exchange information, to exchange experiences, to exchange our communication. So it is also with the spirit, through its vibrations, through its intuition, is able to communicate with the physical body that vibrates, or the back brain or the solar plexus. There is these channels that are able to vibrate with the same, or they may have similar equivalent vibrations, as to be able to receive these impressions. That doesn't mean that these experiences are within the cells. These experiences may have an impact on the individual, on the cells, but they have been kept in the soul or in the spirit, or whatever container one would care to call it.
Thank you, Gregory. And I would like to just add, remember we're talking about repeated Earth lives, which you can, another term that could be used is reincarnation. And we told at the beginning we talked about incarnation. What was incarnating is the consciousness into this earth, material world, in a body. So it's the consciousness which you can, let's say, refer to as the soul, but in quotes, so that we don't get as Gregory pointed out earlier, sometimes people take it in a religious way, but we are not talking, we want to talk in a just a matter of fact way, and consciousness is a way of expressing it as a matter of fact way. So it's a consciousness that has come from beyond the earth, just to not get too much into the detail of it. Uh, Being born, let's say through our parents, we are born onto this earth. So what is born is this consciousness into this body. That, let's say we have been born, we've had some previous lives. What is then the common thread in all of this is that consciousness that was there before this earth life, it was there in the previous earth life and the previous earth lives before that. So that is what is the common thread all the way through. So the memory, whatever memory we're talking about, of experiences that we've had, they are being retained in the consciousness, not in the body. There is memory of the body. Of course, we have a brain. We do retain things in our brain. But actually, if you think about it, each time you're born, you have a new body, completely fresh. You come as a baby. The baby has no memory. It has a zero memory, you can say, blank tape, blank cassette. If that's the old word technology, you can call it. It came as a blank memory. And then, but what came that was already before is the consciousness. And that has retained the memory of the previous lives in it. And again, we would refer, as I said, this gets very detailed understanding can be given in the Grail Message of what's actually going on between, what is being carried forward into this current life from the previous life. It is in this consciousness that we're referring to, which can be called, in quotes, soul or spirit. So that is what is reincarnating. The body is fresh. Each time you come, you have a fresh body, and that has a blank. It has no memory at all, except from the one that you're starting in this life. So it can't retain things from a previous life. So what is retaining your previous memory is in the consciousness, and now all of these things work together. Like that's the big thing that people that say that needs to be understood. You see, yes, you're having previous earth life, yeah, but the one that is the real life, if I can call it, it's not the body. Body is not life. Body is just a vessel that you use to walk around on the earth. Yes, it has a physical memory. It has all these physical things, but it can't retain things which happened in a previous life, which was a different body anyway. So that one, and that body, Gregory, I know you were going to say it, which I'll jump it in there. It has would have been either you have cremation or you have a burial. That would have completely gone potentially when you're born again in the next new life that you've had. So that memory is gone. It's no more to your access. The body is dead. It's decayed, let's say. The body has been decayed. So you have no access to that body in the cells that, if you refer about cellular memory, well, you don't have those cells. What you have is the consciousness. So the memory is coming from that consciousness. So hopefully, listener, if you're listening still, this is the picture to grasp about what is going on here. So we are not earthly beings as we think, and we're having earthly experiences. Yes, we are earthly beings on the surface, and we are having earthly experiences, but there's an inner being, the real living being, the spiritual being, or soul being, or human being. That is what is the real person, or personality, as you say, Gregory, you say person or personality. So that is what is experiencing, and that is not a physical being. So this is a very, how can I say, necessary concept to grasp, to get a clear understanding of what is happening here. So I hope that has made sense. And if you want to come back, listener, you can send a message again if you'd like to do that. Okay, we have come back. Let me, before I continue again, I would like to let the listeners know that you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, The Grail Message by Abdushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is repeated Earth lives. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. And then if you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And I want to let you know we are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is repeated Earth lives. And after 8 p.m. tonight, you can listen to the recording of this show, again on YouTube, with the same words in the search box, which are Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space, Grail Message, space, repeated Earth lives. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. And there's one other place, third place you can listen to us, which is Zeno, ZENO.FM/radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, some people do remember their previous Earth life. Very rare cases you find. So the question arises, Gregory, why do some people remember their previous life and others don't? Is there some special reason?
Of course, there are reasons why some people have a detailed remembrance of their previous Earth life. Like had been mentioned, the activities of the previous Earth life, that which is important, has a strong impression, continuous impression on the spirit through one's intuition. These activities are imprinted in the spirit, and that forms part of its understanding or character. This also makes it makes use of these impressions it has gathered. Now, in a new Earth life, it has a new body. What therefore happens is along the line, depending on the purity of the radiations of the current body, the purity of the radiations of the blood, if it is based on clarity, if it is not clogged, you will find that that person the physical body of that person, in its vibrations, is able to work in harmony with the spirit. That means it is able now to receive of those impressions which has been accumulated in the spirit of previous incarnations. For in its activities, there must have been responses, there must have been reciprocal activities which span different earth lives. And those reciprocal features have now matured. If you have someone who is simple in its attitude and it has through its blood radiation fairly purified, then those activities which have been stored in the spirit become manifest to it very readily because there's no obstruction. And in most cases, these are only made available in accordance with the laws of nature. For the personality will find it useful in its further experiencing, in its interaction with others. It may be, in some other cases, that making these experiences readily available to the individual makes that individual something else. Simple example could be, whilst here on earth, an individual was a king and it enjoyed it so much and ill-treated others so badly. Now, at the time, or the time comes when there's a transition, goes over. And on looking back, on reflections, he then finds that that was not right. And now, through the laws of creation, he's been permitted to incarnate, to make right that which it has done wrong. This time, it may not come as a king, but may come as a servant, such that through its activities, it's able to fulfill that which it should fulfill. Consider in that scenario where the individual has full memory that it was a king. How do you think the individual will respond? For many, they will refuse. Look, I was a king, and therefore I would like to be a king. That individual will never learn humility. That individual will never learn compassion or alertness. That individual will not know what it means to be diligent or to be modest. So these are the qualities that the individual needs to cultivate. Therefore, with the love of the individual at heart, the laws of creation have woven for it who wishes to mature and make progress in his evolution in spirit, to be able to incarnate with its eyes as if closed, to be able to start afresh and to work its way out of the threads which have been tied around itself through its previous activities. In that particular scenario, it becomes a blessing that the individual has no memory of what has happened in the past. For, like you rightly know, with such memories, people become arrogant. But with the wise weavings that has now permitted it to experience, it therefore cultivates those virtues which are necessary for it to make progress.
Thanks again, Gregory, for this detailed picture you have painted for us, you know, for us to really get a proper understanding, you know, why there are things we are not given the opportunity, you can say, to know about our past life. And in other cases, we are, some people are. You know, there's a, how can I say, this phrase, live in the present, a very, very important phrase. If you imagine how many earth lives you might have already lived already, maybe 20. And if you could recall all of those 20, will you be living and doing what you're meant to be doing now? Or you'll be worried, you know, even let's say you did something very terrible, even a murder or say something like that, and you know there's something called the law of karma or the law of nature, or in Grail Message we say the law of reciprocal action. What you sow you shall reap. One day you're going to get the result of that you did. It could be this life, it could be the next life, and all of this could be tormenting you. If you know this is what you did previously, in a previous life, you'll be not even going out of the door of your own home, thinking I must not go out, otherwise something's going to happen to me. And then you will not be living. You'll be, I don't even know what the word is. You just like a ghost there, sitting in one place. No. So no, the whole idea of life is to live freely, without fear. You know, yes, you could have done the most terrible thing. Yes, there's going to be a payback. But then this is the opportunity to pay back. It could be, like you said, Gregory, it doesn't have to be like oh, somebody, you did a murder, now you have to be murdered as well. No, it can be changed because of your attitude, how you might have thought, no, what I did was wrong. And then you are not this person anymore, or that type of attitude you don't have. So according to your new attitude, the karma will hit you according to that. So all these things are mobile, active things, you know, life. It's not fixed. That, oh, yes, there has to be justice, but it doesn't mean that you now become a little, how can I say it, in quotes, mouse, that you can't even walk out of the door. No, we must be living consciously. That is the idea, to become conscious. And once you experience that, you see things in a different way. So yeah, thank you for that. Now, my colleague again, Mrs. Hoppe, has given some words, and I'm still thinking how I can sort of transmit them for our comprehension, because sometimes she talks in a, can I say, poetic language, which may not be so easy to follow. But let's try. So she's saying that when we are talking about or speaking of reincarnation, which level do we wish to comprehend? Mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Are they not all the one, or are they not all one and the same? Let's talk about what they are. We said mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Should they be? And if not, why not? If one approaches this subject from the point of view that one is born, lives and dies, with nothing more to look forward to, then we could truthfully say that the life lived is only of the earthly notions, and as such it may touch momentarily on the emotions of the body and the mind, but not perhaps the spiritual, in other than fleeting moments of, say, Christmas, remembered as children. For those who believe in a certain form of reincarnation, for example, to wish to be able to come back as an animal, etc., then perhaps this too belongs to the earthly notions of the mind, body, and mind. This due to a misunderstood rendering of ancient wisdom regarding reincarnation. In that actually the conscious deeds of humanity influence, effect, and drag down with itself the whole spectrum of the natural world with us in our descent from spiritual clarity. Misplaced in the consciousness of humanity for eons of time gone by, when now the issue or subject of reincarnation is raised, can it be that actually for a huge number of humanity, it is not only impossible to envisage the reality, let alone believe in the truth of reincarnation, when actually we may actually all be earthbound in the truest sense? So I have to say this is a poetic language, and I'm not I try to read it slowly, and I really don't know how much people grasp it. But I think I have some, Gregory, I don't know if you are able to say something about these words. I do have some of my own comment, but I just wondered if you were, first of all, were you able to follow? Because as I said, the first job is to really follow what is being said.
The advice is to request from the publisher of that particular thought to explain explicitly or implicitly what they mean. For I myself cannot interpret what others have said, because when you refer to that which is poetic, it has very many pointers, and each pointer depends on the inner attitude of the individual.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for saying that. I want to, so I realize I don't want to go and explain it as well, what is being said here. However, there's something, what you have said, this is pointing to, and even when the listener was coming with their own understanding of a particular concept, I realized that yes, you could be reading the same words, and yet, let's say 5 of us are reading these same words, and we could easily come with 5 different interpretations, which are completely conflicting. Honestly, that is quite possible. And then you're wondering, okay, is any of the 5 correct in their interpretation? Or one of them is correct, or 2 of them are correct, and the others are not correct, because some of them are conflicting, like I say, and you're thinking, and that is like a confusion. So my own point, I would just make one point on this one, is that to really have an appreciation, I mean, first of all, of course, let's say somebody's written their writing, it's their writing, and they know what they're saying, or we hope they know what they're saying. and then they're trying to communicate it to someone else, or many of us. uh, are we able to tune into that word language of what they're saying? Uh, and as I say, five of us could have written something and come up with five different interpretation, which are even conflicting, and that would be quite difficult to make any sense out of it. So I think what I would like to say is, in this point, is that let's say the way human beings stand today, because in the olden times, reincarnation was a quite a accepted concept, or easily to understand, or people were more open to understand it. Now, of course, the world we live today, there's a lot of skepticism and whatever there is, and these can become barriers to actually understand. And when we say understand, is it the intellectual understanding? Is it the spiritual understanding? Or some other thing? Uh, and that is the issue. So, in our program, we are talking about it's the spiritual discussion program. So there has to be a spiritual perspective that needs to be under where the even if you're talking about earthly matters, it has to be taken from a spiritual understanding, which means you need to know what is the spiritual angle of this, of these activities that we are talking about. So reincarnation, yeah.
May I come in, please?
Yes, please go ahead, Gregory.
Whatever it is, whatever perspective that many a human personality holds, that perspective must be subjected to the laws of nature, of creation, these laws through which the individual and all that exists in creation came into existence. That is the framework. If whatever has been rendered, been spoken, does not resonate with these principles, does not resonate with these laws of creation, then it is something else. In this forum, from the start, all are subjected to the laws of creation. Only that, only from that perspective, only from that framework, can the individual move forward. Else, there will be as many languages as people wish to have, and on the long run may turn out not to be of benefit. Therefore, whatever the individual wish to express, they themselves must strive to ensure that it resonates with the laws of nature, of creation, which laws have been expressed again and again. That law in which says that there is the reciprocal activities. That law which says that there is an attraction of homogeneity. That law which says there is spiritual gravitation. All our expressions must be so constructed to reflect these laws. Else, it is not progress.
Thanks very much for that, these words, Gregory. Now, dear listeners, we've come to the end of the show tonight on the topic of repeated Earth lives, and I hope you've enjoyed the discussion. As I said, we could have had 1,000 questions on this topic, and hopefully you found it interesting and that something that you would like to explore for the forward of the Grail Message, which is titled For Your Guidance. The bandage falls and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I am addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such, it will become the shining light and star. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Aprushin. So, dear listeners, if you wish to get a copy of the Grail Message or want some more information on the Grail Message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing all listeners a very fruitful week ahead.
Thank you. Dear listeners, same from me. Have a fruitful week. Beautiful fruitful week, I'm going to say. And we'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time, with another topic for discussion. Take care now. Good night, and God bless.